Hello, good evening, everybody. I hope all of you are good. Welcome back to the reading practice session. So I hope I am audible clearly to all of you. If one or two of you can say just yes or no. Thank you, thank you. And let's begin today's test. Here is the first question on the screen for reading writing blanks. Make sure all of you are timing yourself. As I always say, it's very, very important because this will be the first question in the reading module. And if we do not time ourselves in this question, we will not have enough time for the other blanks which will come in the end. So it's a very planned way that they put the questions in the exam. One important one in the beginning and the other one in the end. So we have to be conscious when we are spending our time. So 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, not exactly 2.5, bit lesser than that for reading writing blanks, will help you have enough time for your reading blanks at the end. So please, it's a request, all of you should time yourself. Please put your answers. I again request all of you to participate. Your wrong answers help me to think of explanations. Right, so the first question and 2.5 minutes. All right, enough time. Please post your answers. What is the difference between much and many? Much comes with uncountable things and many comes with countable things. So here they said Golden points out that having so dash parking spaces is inefficient, and we can count the number of parking spaces whenever we go in a what is it called, parking area. They have listed that there are 800 places or 200 spaces available and 300 are occupied. So we can count the number of parkings available, so it will be many. If the word spaces would not have been there in the sentence, it says having so much parking is inefficient, then we can say so much parking, because we cannot really say one parking, two parking. But for spaces particularly, yes, we can say there are two parking spaces or three parking spaces. So for spaces, we can count them. So that is why it will be many. Those who are writing much, please note it down. Much comes with uncountable things, some things that cannot be counted. At high use times, for example, Sunday afternoon, when everyone is dash errands, every parking space at a shopping center is full. So Sunday afternoon, everyone is making errands, managing, chasing, or running. Running errands means going here and there, running here and there. So then every parking space at a shopping center is full. So errands is basically not a thing that can be made or managed. It just means like they're moving here and there. What is the solution? I think cities dash start to legislate cars in very new ways, says Golden. He explains that cities will make new laws to limit the number of cars. So from here starts the inverted commas. That means starts the viewpoint of that person, which is Golden, who is Golden, sorry. I think cities dash start to legislate cars in very new ways, and continues. He explains, this is also the viewpoint of the person. He explains that cities will make new laws. So what tense are they using? Will make means this thing will be done in the future. So we also have to follow the same writing style. So it will be, I think cities have, will be, are going to, or might. So what is future out of this? Are going to, because will be is grammatically wrong. If we say, I think cities will be start, so with be, it should be started. Start cannot come with be, that's why will be cannot be the answer. I think cities have start, so have also comes with third form of verb, but start is first form, so have cannot be the answer. And might means 50-50. Maybe they'll do this thing. But when we read the next sentence, we come to know that they are trying to say that they are will make. Will means sure, there is no doubt in this thing. So that is why we also cannot say a doubtful thing. We also have to say something sure. Cities are going to start to legislate cars in very new ways. He explains that cities will make new laws to limit the number of cars people can have within city limits. Dash, comma, people will use taxis, subways, and buses. So in place of cars, they are going to use taxis, subways, and buses. So what will be the answer? Instead, otherwise, however, or therefore. So this is a direct substitution that they have given, replacement. So the answer will be instead. People will use taxis, subways, and buses. So instead is always used whenever you have a direct replacement, a direct substitution. So they want the number of new laws to limit the number of cars people can have. Instead, they want people to use taxis, subways, and buses. New technology like smartphones dash these forms of public transportation even better. And all these things are yet to be done. So they want these things will be made. So that means the use of mobile phones can make, there is a possibility that they can make the transportation even better. If we say are making, that will mean it is already making. and technology is singular, so we cannot say have comes with plural, and this is not a suggestion we are giving. This is what the plan is, and we are explaining the plan that we want. We think cities will start to do this. People will take buses and cabs and taxis instead of their own cars, and technology like smartphones can help in making these things better, right? So these are the answers. The first one is many, because we needed a countable answer. Spaces can be counted, so it will be many spaces. Second, errands just means here and there, so it will be running here and there. We cannot manage or make or chase here and there, so that's why it is running errands. Third one is are going to. Cities is plural. Are going to legislate cars, because the next sentence made it clear that these things are yet to be done in future. They used will in next sentence, so that is why it is are going to. Will be and have cannot come, because with both of them we need third form of verb, but the word start is first form of verb. Then instead, because we are giving a direct substitution, this is not a reason or the effect, this is not going contrast, we are giving a direct substitution. In place of cars, people will use taxis. So in place of means instead. And the last ones, new technology like smartphones can make, because it is still to happen. So we are saying this can make this arrangement better. Right, so these are the answers. You can put your questions or doubts in the chat box if you have any. Yes, third one is are going to. Any doubts, anyone? Any queries you have? Might Ritu will be 50-50, and the next sentence made it clear that they are saying will. So there is no doubt what the person is saying. This is going to happen, so we cannot say might. Passage, Neha, we cannot really say it is in continuous form, because this is kind of facts that they are discussing, that having parking spaces is inefficient is not something which we are doing. It is a fact. We are considering a situation that if we have lots of parking in the city, it's actually not an efficient thing, right? So cannot say passage is in continuous form. Rather, some of the things are the present conditions they are discussing, and some of the things is about the future that they want to do, that they want to make the parking system efficient. So they are thinking about what can be done in the future. So love, how many parking spots do you have in your house? 1 or 2? So we can count the parking spaces, right? So that means it's countable. That is why we are writing many parking spaces. Much is used when you are talking about uncountable things. There is a lot of pressure. There is too much pressure on me. So you cannot count 1, 2, or 3 pressures you have. So that is how we use the word much. So Neha, if we say are making, that will mean that the smartphones are already making this thing better. But like I said, from this part, from this says, I think cities, they are talking about future. So they are yet to make this law, and people are yet to start using taxis, subways, and buses, which is public transportation. And when right now we don't have this thing, how can we make that technology is making it easier? We are to make this law according to the passage. It is, they are saying will be made or will make the law. Ranks means here and there. So love, what do we mean by ground for parking? They haven't used the word ground. They have said spaces. So if you are thinking about ground, they should say parking space, because parking space, what you are thinking is just parking space, like a big ground. No, parking spaces means exactly how many we have. How many cars can be parked? So in verbal language, like in daily life, we can say there is a parking space there. That means a big ground we can call parking space, but that is in spoken language because it is wrong. In written language, parking space exactly means one space for one car. Two parking spaces means two cars. That's it. Fourth one is instead, because we are giving what can be done in place of using your own car. So whenever you talk about a replacement, we always use the word instead. For example, you can say instead of tea, I like coffee. That means you don't like tea and you like coffee. So in place of tea. So here they are saying they want to limit the number of cars so that people will use taxis, subways. So instead of cars, in place of cars, they will use buses. That is how we use the word instead. Otherwise, no, otherwise does not mean that you cannot do the first thing. Otherwise is used, for example, create a sentence with otherwise, finish your work, otherwise you cannot go out. So it doesn't mean that you don't have to do the first thing and you have to do the second thing. That is not used for replacement. Right? Like put in place of the same example, tea and coffee. I like tea, otherwise coffee. So that does not mean, otherwise in that case will mean if tea is not available, then I can take coffee as well. But that does not mean that in place of tea, I like coffee. Okay. So that's again, always, whenever you have doubts, always create sentences in daily life that how will I use the word instead or how will I use the word therefore. Therefore is used when you want to say for this reason. So if in any place you can put the word for this reason, you can put therefore in that case. So here we cannot say for this reason. The previous sentence is no reason. You are saying that cities will make new laws to limit the number of cars people can have within city. For this reason, people will use taxis. No, this is just a law. This is not a reason. And the law is yet to be made. Reason is a thing which has happened. So they want to limit the number of cars. Instead, people will use taxis. Not because of that they will use taxis. You can say that I have my exam tomorrow, therefore I cannot attend the party. For this reason, I cannot go to the party, because the previous sentence mentions the reason for not going. So always when you have reason given, then only you can give therefore. Right? All clear now? Okay, so here is question number 2 for reading writing blanks. And you have 2.5 minutes to solve this. Please post your answers. Okay, who is this? Please clarify your concepts about connectors, those who haven't, because there are going to be 3 to 4 blanks or at least 2 to 3 blanks in the exam on connectors. And if you're not clear about them, that means you're going to risk your 3 marks or maybe 4 sometimes. So this sentence, this question starts with, in December 1864, the Civil War was nearly over. The armies of the Union dashed most of the South. So South is an area. We are in past tense. We are talking about 1864. The armies of the Union dashed most of the South. So can we defeat an area? Were defeating. That means that was still happening, ing form. Are cannot come in past tense. Had conquered is possible. Captivated, we cannot captivate areas, we can captivate people as slaves, or we can captivate animals, but we cannot captivate areas. So the right answer would be had conquered, because they are not saying that they were defeating most of the South. The armies of the Union were defeating. Were defeating will mean that was still happening. So the answer would be had conquered. They had almost conquered the South area, but the fight was not finished. It was freezing cold when the battle started on December 15th. The Confederate troops were dash. So with were, it should be ing or ed. So based on that, we can eliminate overcome because it's present tense. Can we say the troops were exceeded, outnumbered, or surpassed? Surpassed means crossed. When you cross something and you become superior, then you use the word surpassed, which is not possible, because when we read the next few sentences, we come to know that the other army, the Union Army, was the superior one, not the Confederate troops were not the superior ones. So we cannot say the Confederate troops surpassed, rather they were outnumbered. Outnumbered means they were less and the other army was more in number. So they were outnumbered. They fought in ragged uniforms, dash without shoes. Now here I am seeing most of you selecting mostly. How can you say mostly? Mostly will be based on that you knew that 80% of the times they were fighting without shoes. Is there any hint to tell us that they were fighting most of the times without shoes? We can never take any answer which is based on knowledge, that you should know about it, only then you can say it. So we can never say that they very few times they fought without shoes or most of the times they fought without shoes. Both are wrong. So we have to take a neutral stance. We can say sometimes they fought without shoes, because sometimes can be 10% also, sometimes can be 80% also. Sometimes means anything can be possible. So this is what you always have to think. Whenever the answer is based on knowledge, never select that word as the answer, because you don't have a reason for saying mostly they were fighting without shoes. So they fought in ragged uniforms, sometimes without shoes, against the superior Union army. They had no hope. On December 16, they were defeated. The war was over. The Union won the Civil War 4 months later. Although the southern states returned to the Union, the country remained divided. 50 years later, most of the war's veterans were dead. Dash the country, towns and cities had begun building monuments in their memory. So country, towns and cities. Along will be next to, near the country, over the country, or around the country. So they wanted to say that everywhere in different parts of the country, different parts of the towns, they were building the monuments in the memory of those who lost their lives in the war. So we don't have a specific area, or we cannot say near the country. Near the country will mean in some other country, in the next country, but that's not possible. So it will be around the country, means lots of places in the country they were building monuments in their memory. In the north, monuments were built to honor the Union. In the south, monuments honored the Confederacy. Dash the states were united again, comma, no one built a monument to both sides. Those who are writing nonetheless, very clear thing is nonetheless comes with a comma, and we don't have a comma here. So the first thing you should be eliminating is nonetheless. Intermittently means irregularly, which irregular or irregularly, that doesn't make sense here. The choice is always between even though and despite. Even though comes when you have a subject plus verb written, and despite comes when you have only noun written. This is covered in the grammar videos. So we have the states is the subject and united is the verb. So we have both subject plus verb. So that is why the answer will be even though. They were united again. No one built a monument to both sides. One positive and one negative statement connected with a comma in between. We always put despite, even though, or although in the beginning. The difference is even though and although come when you have subject plus verb like this one, and despite comes when you have a noun. Only noun, no verb is there. So these are the answers. The first one had captured because we wanted something in past tense, and also that we are talking about an area. So we cannot captivate an area, we can only conquer over an area. The Confederate troops were less in numbers. That's why outnumbered means the same, that the other party was more in number. We cannot say mostly or a few times because both of the things are based on knowledge. We don't have the knowledge. They were less or more times. So we can say sometimes, a neutral answer. Around the country, towns and cities means a number of places. We are not talking about a particular area or a particular place. And the last one, nonetheless, needs a comma, which we don't have. The choice was between even though and despite. Since we have subject and verb, both the things, so even though will be the answer. Now you can put your doubts if you have any in the chat box. Over, can you build monuments over the country? Over means top of. So we cannot build something top of the country. Surpassed is like you can say the height of Mount Everest surpassed the height of M2. So means crossed over, is more than the other one. Then we use the word surpassed, crossed the other thing. Also in the third one, let's put also. This says 1, 2, 3. They fought in ragged uniforms, also without shoes. Okay, if we read they fought in ragged uniforms without shoes, that means it's a complete sentence. We need adverb here. Also is not an adverb. So we have to put adverb, which is sometimes, eventually, mostly, all these are adverbs. Also is not an adverb. Were is also past, but were comes with ing, and ing means continuous, means you want to say that it was happening. This sentence, so those who have not covered the videos, in the video we also talked about the difference between simple past and past perfect. This is that example. Simple past and past perfect, the difference is when two things are happening in the past, one after the other, the first thing we talk about, we always write past perfect tense in that case. Like here they say, the armies had captured most of the south, most of the area, but the fighting was, this is simple past, was not finished. So that is that writing style. This is a proper concept you need to cover about past and past perfect. So this basically means this thing was already done when the other thing was happening. This is the writing style of past perfect and past. The last blank, the even though and despite. So even though comes when you have noun or subject plus verb written after the blank, and despite comes when you only have a noun written after the blank. You don't have subject plus verb separately. So for example, you can say, despite being united, no one built a monument. So states the subject is not there, then you cannot put even though, then we will put despite only. Second one, yes. The Confederate troops, they were less in number. So less in number means they were outnumbered by the other team or by the other what is it? Army. So outnumbered by other means they were more in number. The other ones were more in number. That is the meaning of outnumbered. Yes, even though and although comes when you have subject plus verb written. Anything else if I have missed? Yes, Pinky, where is your question? If in first blank they give the word and ed form, then we select had option still. Because like I explained, it is past and past perfect. Two things, when we talk about two things happening in the past, the first one will come with had and the second one will come with simple past tense. So this, if I give you an example, maybe you'll be able to understand. For example, I had finished the work when they arrived. So two things are happening in the past. You had already done the work when somebody came. So the first one will be had and the second one will be simple past tense. That is how this sentence formation is done. Okay. But yes, as I always say, if you want to go into detail, which you should, about the basic concepts, you have to go through the videos. If you have already and still these kind of mistakes are happening, you need to revise them. It's important because these all concepts come in the exam and we are very, very sure those students who clear the exam and they come back and say, yeah, the had concept came, the therefore concept came, even though and although came in the exam. So it's all about concepts. It's not about which question or what type of questions came, what language was there. If you have your concepts clear, these 30-40% of the blanks which are going to come on the concepts will decide your scores at the end of the day. The language ones you will do by yourself, the understanding ones you will do. But the concepts ones needs that we need to finish the concepts properly. Okay, the next question, number 3 on the screen, and you have 2.5 minutes for this. Okay, should be done. You know, there's one question that I always come across from students, or one doubt that they say in reading writing blanks, they always give two words which are very similar to each other, and I always get confused in those words. You know, like in this fourth blank, you will say there was based and depend, and both go with on. So what should we select? And my response to that question is, there's always a hint which you don't look at. Like in this sentence also, there's a hint which you haven't looked at. And when we will discuss, then you will get to know, but the next time again, you won't see that. Okay, let's see. All transistors are made from materials called semiconductors. A semiconductor is a cross dash a good conductor and a good insulator. So whenever we have two things, we generally go with between. And yes, we do have between. It can be made to accept or reject the flow of electrons. Germanium is a semiconductor, so is silicon used today. So again, the sentence is complete. Still we have a blank, so we should go with ly, how it is used. Widely, common, regularly, habitually. So this is not something habit. Brushing the teeth is habit and regular. Use of silicon cannot be habit or regular. So we can say widely means commonly used nowadays. A transistor's ability to control the flow of electricity has made dash our entire computerized world. And yes, all of you have done it well. Has made possible means because of this, the computerized world has been possible. All computers dash on the binary system. Now, when you're answering based, did you even read the sentence after putting based? All computers based on the binary system. Don't we need all computers are based on the binary system? So that was the reason that based cannot be the answer, and rather depend is the answer, because for depend, we don't need anything else in the sentence. All computers depend on the binary system. But for based, all computers are based on the binary system, and we don't have R in here. So whenever there are similar words, the hint is also there. Hint can be there, or hint will be missing there, or some words can be missing. So always read the complete sentence before putting the answer and all after putting the answer as well. The binary system has only two numbers, 1 and 0. When a transistor allows electricity to flow dash, it registers a 1. When the transistor stops the flow of electrons, it registers a 0. So when the transistor allows the electricity to flow through, means it allows it to go, then 1 is registered. When it stops it, means does not allow it, then it is a 0. So basically we just needed the opposite of stops, which is allow, so flow through. Right, from a via will come if you have the what is it, the, like we say via this road, so you should have the noun also, that via what we have to go. So via is the way, but we don't have anything, we simply have a comma, so it will be flow through, means allows it or stops it. Right, so these are the answers. First one, we have two nouns, so we'll say between 1 and 2. Second, we needed ly because the sentence was complete, and silicon is using silicon is not habit or regular thing, it can be commonly used, so we'll say widely used. Third, possible, just based on the writing style. Fourth, we need R for writing based on, but R is not there, and without R, based on is grammatically wrong in the sentence. All computers based on the binary system. Where is the helping verb in the sentence? Till the full stop. If we want to put based on here, still we will need helping verb in the other part of the sentence, like all computers based on the binary system are converted. But in this sentence, we don't have the helping verb. That means we cannot write the verb without the helping verb because we don't have the helping verb written. So it will be all computers depend on the binary system. And the last one, flow through means allow and stops means stop. Okay, and let me have a look at the doubts. Within means within is used, Karam, when we want to say not out of. So when we want to put a limit, then we want to we use the word within. Yes, for based we will say are based on. So Ritu, can we say all computers are depend on? Use the word depend on in a general sentence. My marks depend on my preparation. Will we say my marks are depend on my preparation? My marks depend on your marks depend on the preparation. The rains depend on evaporation. We don't say the rains are depend on. It will be the rains are dependent on. So create sentences with the words that will tell you what is the difference. Why we are not use from in the last blank? So from means we need to have the source written after. From where? But we don't have any where written here. Like we can say I need to get clothes from the market. Without the market, we cannot say from, comma. Or otherwise, the other use of from is with to, but we don't even have to here. Like from this to this, from morning to evening, but we don't even have to here. That's why we cannot use from. Among is used when you want to say more than two things. Then we say among, like among the children, these two are really intelligent. So among means out of all that is one use of among. The other uses we can say, please distribute the sweets among the children. Means to more than two of the children, please distribute it. So more than two means among. Third blank. Third one is, so they say a transistor's ability to control the flow of electricity has made possible our entire world. This is just like this ability has made computerized world possible. What other things we have? A transistor's ability control the flow of electricity has made workable our computerized world, manageable or potential, possible. Because we cannot say that a transistor is managing our world. A transistor's ability is workable. Our world is a very big thing. So you can just say computerized world is possible because of transistors' ability. If we have not discovered that transistors can do this thing, then computerized world would not have been possible. So that was the meaning of the sentence. Potential is potential outbreaks of coronavirus, means possible, likely outcomes, what can be possible, that is potential. Through, there are so many uses of through. One use of through is like this, when you say flow through, here the meaning of through is just allow. And one use of through is when you want to say you have to pass through the tunnel. That means you have to cross it, go past it. In the way you have to cross it. That's the meaning of through. One meaning of through is when we say kind of same like the tunnel one, but you can frame a sentence like you can improve your grammar through these classes. So through can be a way of. When you have written the way after that, then you can use the word through. Yeah, go through is just like pass from this, then you can say go through. Or like go through the rules, that is have a look at, that is also go through. All done. Please see if I have missed anybody's doubt. You can write it again. Sorry, sometimes it just gets skipped. So are we clear with the meaning of potential means possible? Like we say, what are the potential side effects of this medicine means possible side effects, and we can use the word potential. Okay, done. So question number 4 on the screen, no worries, thank you. Question number 4 on the screen, and you have 2.5 minutes for this. Sahan. Where did you read this word, chilled, being used for Earth's temperature? You know, sometimes the answers are just based on whether this particular word is used for the other word we are using for. For example, when you think about Earth's temperature, what are the words we can put with Earth's temperature? What are the words we can think of? Earth's temperature has risen, Earth's temperature has fallen, increase, decrease, hot, cold, hot temperature, cold temperature. Where have we heard chilled temperature of the earth, or left temperature, right temperature? Why are we selecting left with the earth's temperature? Historically, there have been periods in which the earth's temperature has slowly risen. Now here they are saying that in the history there has been lot of times when the earth's temperature has risen, means increased, and fallen, obviously. So they're talking generally that many of the times in history earth's temperature has risen, many times it has fallen. So that was the sense. What is left doing? Okay, love, where have you left over the earth's temperature? And where is over? Left over means like leftover food. The ones which is not used, that is the meaning of leftover. So here it will be the earth's temperature has risen, earth's temperature has cooled over thousands of years, means in thousands of years it has happened normally. This is a normal process that can be caused by many factors, including radiation of the sun, changes in the earth's orbit, and volcanic activity. However, climate change can also be dashed by changes in the amount of certain gases in the atmosphere. So with B, it should be third form of verb. And we have to find a verb which matches with climate change. So can be produce climate change, can be originate, can be cause, or effective. So it will be climate change. We normally say climate change is caused because of this, because of that. So we use the word cause with climate change. Then they say dash some carbon dioxide is produced through natural processes, comma, large dash of it are also produced by humans. That means we have to say, okay, what is the difference between while and whereas? Whereas comes when you say half part before it and half part after it. For example, we can say some carbon dioxide is produced through natural processes, whereas some of it is produced by humans. So half part before, then whereas, and then half part after. But what we need is a connector to come before both the parts. And we are making a kind of comparison. So it will be while. While some is made by humans, some is made by nature. So there are two different ways of producing carbon dioxide. So we'll say while. Whenever comes with time. Whenever I go to market means the time I go to market. Whenever I talk to my friend means the time I talk to my friend. So that is how we use the word whenever, and additionally needs a comma, which we don't have here. So that cannot be the answer. Then they say large dash of it are. So are tells us the answer has to be plural. And what is it? Carbon dioxide. So large dash of carbon dioxide are also produced by humans. So we can eliminate extent. We cannot say extent of carbon dioxide is produced by humans, but we can say numbers also. We don't have carbon dioxide number 1 and carbon dioxide number 2. So for amount, we have to use is here. We'll say large amount of work is pending. We won't say large amount of work are pending. So that is why the answer will be large quantities are also produced by humans. Large amount, there's nothing wrong in writing large amount, but we cannot write it with are. So it has to be is for that. Then they say this burning dash, when we drive cars, we use electricity and make certain products. This burning, now burning will be singular, so we need a verb with S. So we have to eliminate take place, result, and this is a simple fact, and facts are in simple present tense. So occurred is also eliminated. What are we left with? This burning happens when we drive cars, when we use electricity. So it should be present tense here. right? So these are the answers. The first one we were just talking about in history. The Earth's temperature has risen, the Earth's temperature has fallen. We don't have fallen, so we can say cooled over thousands of years. Second one would be, it should be third form of verb and something that matches with climate change. So we say climate change can be caused by these things. While comes in the beginning when we are making a comparison with a comma in the same sentence. Whereas comes in the middle of two things, not in the beginning of two things. And large quantities, because of the helping verb is are, so we have to select plural answer. Numbers, we don't have numbers of carbon dioxide, so it will be quantities of carbon dioxide. And burning is singular, so we need a verb with s. Burning happens when we drive cars. Any doubts, please put them in the chat box, all of you. No doubts? Cooled. Cooled is the family word for risen. What does that mean, sorry? Whenever sukh is used when you're talking about time. Whenever means at that time. Like you say, whenever I study, I feel lazy. So that means at the time when I study, I feel lazy. So whenever is at that time. Always use with time perspective. Last blank is a fact, like they're saying this burning dash when we drive cars. So it is not based on any tense. Like they're not saying this happened when we drive cars, because we drive cars means present tense. When we use electricity means present tense, anytime we use electricity. That is why we needed present form of verb, and burning is singular, so we needed a verb with s, which is a grammatical rule. Singular nouns have verbs with s, plural nouns have verb without s. So the only verb in present tense and with s is happens. Okay, no worries. All good, rest of you. Okay, so the last question for reading, writing blanks for today, number 5, is on the screen. Third one. So third one is Ben. The answer is while, because we are making a comparison that some part of carbon dioxide is produced through nature, but whereas while the other part is made by humans. So that is kind of a comparison between two different ways we get carbon dioxide. So that is why it is while. Whereas can come in between two parts, not in the beginning of two parts. And whenever comes with time, additionally needs a comma, but we don't have the comma. So that is why the answer is while. Right, so this is the last question, reading, writing blanks number 5 on the screen. Please post your answers and please time yourself. done, please post your answers. Let's see at this. By dash the converted potential energy of Lake Mead, the Hoover Dam provides power to California. So whenever we talk about energy, the verb that is used with energy is harnessing energy. Those who did not know this, please note it in your vocabulary list. We always harness the energy. The meaning of harness is control and use. So provide, some of you have written providing the converted potential. Provide can be used with power, like they have used. They say provides power to California, Nevada, and Arizona. So we provide power, we don't provide energy. We harness means we use energy to make electricity. Those who have written producing, produce can be used with electricity. So there are different verbs for different nouns. For example, for electricity, we can say we produce electricity to provide energy by harnessing, to provide power by harnessing energy. So these are the different words which go in electricity context, like here. Well over a dozen turbines are housed dash the power plant at the base of the dam. Now here is what we require within. Because what they want to say is, because a dam is a very big area, there are lots of different areas in the dam, like the bridge, and then beneath the bridge we have a whole machinery set up, and there are turbines. So here they want to say that where are the turbines placed? The turbines are housed within the power plant, means where we have the plant inside of that, and that power plant is at the base of the dam. So here it will be within. Electricity production varies annually depending on dash water is required downriver from the dam. So water is uncountable, so we cannot say how many. So we'll say how much, because we want to know the quantity, but many goes with countable. So we'll say how much water is required downriver from the dam and the water levels of Lake Mead. The greatest amount of energy dashed during 1984. The greatest amount, so 1984 will be past tense. So we cannot select is, we cannot select has, and there's only one thing happening in the past, so we will not say had. So we'll say was produced in 1984. Been always comes when something happened in the past on a continuous basis. If the energy levels, they would have said that had been produced means continuously produced. But the writing style says in 1984, only 1 year. So this happened in 1984. So it will be the greatest amount of energy was produced during 1984. And then they explain the year, what happened in that year. As a result, compared to its peak periods of energy production, the Hoover Dam has been generating much less energy. The sentence is complete even without the plant. The Hoover Dam has been generating much less energy. So we need ly because generating is a verb. So we need to put adverb here, and we have two adverbs, freshly and recently. Freshly generating doesn't make sense. Energy is not fresh or stale, but we can say recently because they were actually comparing the time that compared to the peak times, now it is producing less energy. So now means recently, in recent times. So these would be the answer. The first one, always with energy, we use the verb harness or harnessing, whatever verb, whatever form it has been given in. Second is within, because they wanted to say inside of the power plant, which is located at the base. So at is used for location, which is the base of the dam. So water is uncountable, so we'll say how much water is required. And the greatest amount of energy was produced, because it is just one incident, one time period. And the last one, we needed ly because the sentence was complete and we have a verb written after. So it will be recently generating much energy. The purpose of the sentence was to compare the time periods, the highest production and the recent ones. Any confusions, anyone? Please put your doubts. So if we put any other answer in the second one, over a dozen turbines means more than 12 turbines are placed. House means are there, are placed, are housed at the power plant. Power plant is not the location. The location is the base of the dam. Power plant is the area. So we cannot say along. Along will mean side of the power plant. And by the power plant also means by means like we say by the lake. I am sitting by the lake means next to the lake or side of the lake, which is not possible. So they means inside the power plant there are 12 turbines. And where is the power plant? The power plant is at the base of the dam. So Akash, what explanation did I give for the word harnessing? I need to test you in between. Some of you are sleeping. What discussion did we do for harnessing? Let me see what you have heard and what you haven't. Only Akash will answer this. And Sukh as well. Okay, no worries. So harnessing is the verb that we always use with the noun energy. Whenever we talk about energy, we always say we are harnessing energy. It is generally used in the, whenever you have a context about fossil fuels also, we say we harness energy from fossil fuels, we harness energy from water to produce electricity. It's a very common word to be used in that context. Where we use has been. So has been is used when something is happening in the present continuously from the past. For example, you can say she has been writing a letter. Means she has started maybe from yesterday or since morning and now it's evening and she's still writing. So has been, continuously doing something, that is has been. Yes, channeling is like, channeling is used for water. So you can say, we are channeling the water towards the dam, means directing the flow of something is the meaning of channeling. So we cannot channel the energy itself, we channel the resource from which we harness the energy. That is channeling. Had been means something was happening in the past continuously. That is the meaning, that is the use of had been. Like she had been writing the letter means in the past she was continuously writing letters. That is had been. Yes, generating or producing both can be used for electricity. Generating is even better than using the word producing because producing is also used for goods in the factory. So we produce goods in the factory, we don't generate goods in the factory. So generating is even more specific to be used for electricity than producing. So if you'll have producing and generating, you should go with generating electricity. By has lots of meanings like you need to come home by 5 p.m. That is used with time period. Other is, like I said, we'll have a party by the lake, means near the, at the side of the, that is also by. Also, in generally, like we use by, you can achieve your target by working hard. So that is also the use of by. This question was very confusing. No, it was not confusing. Now, just now I gave you all the hints and I told you all the reasons and there was no confusion at all. Everything has its use. So you cannot say it's confusing. There were not even synonyms used here. The first one, I did not say anything because I thought you might not know the meaning of harnessing. So I told you that. How much, how many, what extent, there is no confusion in that. Was, has, had, very clear distinguishes that we have. Has is present, had been means continuously, but they are talking only about 1 year, so there's no continuity in that. Mostly we use by with ing form of verb. I'll contact you by writing a letter. I'll contact you by sending a message. Mostly with by. If you're using a verb, it should be ing. Okay, done. Any other questions? Yeah, this was the first thing I talked about today. You have to learn time management, and you can only learn time management when you're using shortcuts. If you go with every question understanding each and every word, it's not possible. Unfortunately, it's not possible. 𝗪 means adverb. Adverb is used whenever the sentence is complete and after the blank or before the blank you have a verb written. Then we use 𝗪 form of verb. Adverb. Okay, first question for reorders on the screen, and you have only 2 minutes to solve this. Please post your answers within 2 minutes. Only one pair is correct. All of you are giving the same answer. Sometimes you people don't finish one topic and you jump onto the other topic, and then you mess up the question. The first sentence is C. For more than 35 years, psychology professor Robert has been studying the science of persuasion to figure out what makes people say yes. So this was the first sentence. We have the name of the person and we have the topic that he was studying. to find out. Figure out means to find out what makes people say yes. Second sentence was A. Very good name. Because the second sentence also talks about what he found out. One of the tricks he discovered is as simple as doing this one thing, ask for advice. This continues the study. That what was the study? He was trying to find out what makes people say yes, and one thing in that finding out was as simple as doing this one thing, ask for advice. And then continue the topic advice, but the key says this person is that you must use the word advice. So continuing the topic of advice. And then 4 and 5 are correct. 4 is B, 5 is D, because we first talk about to introduce the word opinion. Typically, people would ask for their colleagues' opinions, but that's a mistake according to this research. The word opinion triggers the other person. So they say this is a mistake, and the next sentence explains why this is a mistake. If you want to go on the understanding of the question, they said that he was trying to find out what makes people say yes. And one of the things he discovered was asking for advice. But you have to be very sure that you use the word advice, because what normally people do is they ask for opinions, not for advice. And this word opinion makes all the difference. So putting A and E at the end, then what are we talking about typically? What relevance does typically have if we are not talking about anything before that? So we say that students should come to the class at 10 a.m. sharp. Normally they come at 10:05 or 10:10. So typically means normally. And that comes after what should be done. Right? Any doubts in this question, anybody? Like this question. And I can imagine your faces when you get wrong answer in reorders. This is not a good question. The first sentence is C, in which we have the topic that he was trying to find out what makes people say yes. And one of the things he found out was asking for advice. Then we continue that you have to make sure that you always use the word advice, because normally people use the word opinion, which is a mistake. And why is it a mistake is given in D. The word opinion triggers the other person to step back from you psychologically and become critical of your idea, says this person. So in A and B, the word but highlights, like you say that one thing that he found out was to ask for advice, but make sure that you use the word advice. You don't use any other word, because normally people use the word opinion. So that but is kind of when you say something and then you want to highlight, specify something out of it. You can ask advice, but make sure you use the word advice only. That was the use of but here. 2 pairs is a good score. Okay, second question on the screen, and you have 2 minutes for this as well. Very well done. Those who are left, you can post your answers. Good. The first one was B, where we talk about there were two studies. In two landmark studies, researchers have used something and something. Then they said the first study found this, the second study documented this, and the findings, plural, means both the findings of both the studies will come here. So the findings published around the 35th anniversary of the disaster. So these findings should come after you talk about both the findings. So that is why first study found this, second study documented also means what was written in the second study. That means what was the finding of the second study. And then we say the findings means both the findings. And a well attempt, except a few of you. Any doubts, anyone? Don't overthink sometimes. Don't overthink anytime. Sometimes you do. Okay, third and the last question for reorders and 2 minutes for this. Please post your answers. Okay, let's discuss. Anybody left to post the answer? And it's a very good question, I must say. Okay, so most of you have written D as the first sentence because B sentence only talks about Danish population, means the people who live in this particular country. And here we are talking about worldwide. That is your reason of selecting D first and B second. But is D a complete sentence? Worldwide, almost 40% have overweight. 40% whom? It doesn't have the word population. 40% can be 40% males. If I want to complete it, I can say 40% females, 40% children, 40% youngsters, 40% old people. How do we come to know who is this 40% for? So based on words, yes, worldwide should come before Danish, but we can never put an incomplete sentence in the first one. You know that they are talking about population because you have read the B sentence. If we don't read the B sentence first and somebody gives us this sentence as first one, we won't understand that what is 40%. So that is why B is the first one and D is the second one, because B has the complete information that we are talking about population here. Half of the Danish population have overweight while 17% live with obesity. Worldwide, almost 40% have overweight and 13% live with obesity. That was the first pair, B and D. And then the third, because we talked about obesity and obesity, then we say the condition. The condition refers to obesity. So the condition is associated with increased risk for early death as well as for type 2 diabetes and this diseases. Then we have one sentence which talks about weight regain, and then one sentence which is talking about treatment for maintaining a weight loss. So some of you have written A first and then C. But A is saying how to maintain the weight loss. How do we know that people are not maintaining the weight loss? It is given in C sentence. So weight regain after an initial successful weight loss in people with obesity is an unsolved problem. That they successfully lose the weight, but then they regain it. That is why we are saying that until now, there is no well-documented study on which treatment method is best for maintaining a healthy weight loss. Then how to maintain the weight loss, we don't have any study on that. So that will come after you say that what is the problem. Why are we saying that there is a problem of maintaining? Why do we need a study on maintaining the weight loss? Because it's a problem. Right, so this was the answer, the first B and D, because D was incomplete and B was the complete sentence. That is why B comes first and D second. And then third, because we are further explaining obesity. 4 and 5, we talk about another problem. Weight regain is a problem. And then we say there is no study which helps us to maintain the weight loss. So this is the sequence. Any doubts, anyone? Yes, can be called tricky. This one is fine. This is tricky, but this is good. These are the things we need to learn in the classes, because these are the things that come in the exam: complete, incomplete sentences, references. So we need to do such kind of questions so that in the exam it's nothing new for you. Okay, the first question. So for the rules of the reorders, please go to the Language Academy PTE academic group. There are 3 videos already on the group which contain all the rules for reorders, which you must watch. That will help you to solve the reorders on daily basis. Okay, Simar. Right. So we have the first 2 questions of reading blanks on the screen. Please do both of them together and we'll have a discussion together. So you can put your answers as number 1, these answer, number 2, these answers. and I will be back in 4 minutes. So please put your answers. You have the first two questions of reading blanks on the screen, and take 4 minutes for that. Okay, are we done with 2 questions? Well done. You have done the second one pretty well. First is also fine. Something I want to talk about in the first one. Okay, let's look at the answers. Sports showcase dash examples every day of potential energy being converted into kinetic energy. So sports showcase many examples every day because it's a general statement. You have many examples. So many would be, we have many also, we have countless also. So what is more academic? Countless and many means the same, but countless is more academic. So we should go with that. Countless examples in everyday life for the conversion of potential energy into kinetic energy. When she releases the bowstring, all the potential energy is converted into kinetic energy, which is dashed to the arrow that takes flight. So with is should be past form of verb, and we want a verb for energy. Energy is dashed to the arrow in past form. We have 2 past forms. Energy is transferred to the arrow. Energy is conducted to the arrow. So conducted and to cannot come together, but transferred and to come together. So we can say energy is transferred to the arrow that takes flight. The transfer of kinetic energy from the bow to the arrow is not a dash efficient process. The sentence is complete, is not a efficient process. So we need ly, adverb, and if you look at the options, we have only one adverb, so there's no other doubt. Perfectly, this is not a perfectly efficient process. What this means is that some of the energy does not make it to the arrow. Instead, the energy dash be absorbed by the archer's arm. So here, most of you have written could. What will be the meaning of could here? Okay, what is the general meaning of could is possibility. In what sense it is possibility? If I put could here, that will mean we are talking about whether it can be absorbed or it cannot be absorbed. Whether it is possible for the arm to absorb the energy or whether it is not possible for the arm to absorb the energy. So if we put could in this instance, that will question the possibility whether something can happen or not happen. So here the question is not about whether it can be absorbed or not. The question is that some of the energy sometimes go to the arm. So it's not about whether the arm can take it or the arm cannot take that energy. If we are talking from that perspective, then it will be could, that the arm could take it or could not take it. But here it will be might, because we are saying that sometimes the energy can go to the arm. Very less likely possibility that it can happen. So that is, the energy might be absorbed by the archer's arm, causing it to jerk to the side when the bow twangs. Then they say the most important thing to remember is that although the transfer of energy between objects may be inefficient, the energy still exists. It has simply been transferred dash a different pathway. So they say wherever it goes, the energy is still there. It has just been transferred along a different pathway, because among comes with plural, but there's only one pathway, so we'll say along a different pathway. Means it goes through a different pathway, different route, different way, but the energy is there. So that can be the difference between if you have could and might, both of the options given, then please think that whether putting could will change the sense of the sentence, that it will be a question about the possibility of taking it or happening it or that thing happening or not. Then you don't put could in that case. Right? Any doubts for the first question, anybody? Though it was completely mostly fine, just the could thing was wrong, rest you have done all well. Some of you did even the could, did put might in that case. First one, so what else can we put in the first one, Nidhi? Many and countless are 2 options. Many is general word, countless is more academic, so we'll go with more academic word, which is countless. So could means, the meaning of could is possibility of something happening or not. If we put energy could be absorbed, that will mean whether it is possible for the arm to absorb the energy or it is not possible for the arm to absorb the energy. That is what the sentence will change the sense into. But the sentence is not about this, because it is starting with instead. It is actually meaning that when we use bow and arrow, when we put the energy in the arrow, some of the energy goes into our arm sometimes. That is why our arm gets a jerk when the arrow is released. This was the question. It was not the question about the possibility of arm taking the energy or not taking the energy. So that is the difference here. Might, no, might does not question the possibility of the arm. Might says like sometimes the energy that you're putting in the arrow, sometimes the energy does not go into the arrow and it may go into your arm. The question is not about whether the arm will take it or not. So arm will take it or not is the possibility of the arm, but might means it may happen. May not the arm take it or not. May means energy can go, energy may go into the arm instead. Second last, the same thing like we explained. And okay, so let's move on to the second question. So the second question said, a Flinders University researcher has finally dashed why large numbers of killer whales dash at a single main location. So we can always eliminate the ly words when we are trying to understand the sentence. With has should come third form of verb V3, and we have two options in V3. One is believed and one is fathomed. So the meaning of fathomed I did not know, so I just tried to put believed. If believe fits, then it's fine. If it does not fit, then fathomed will be the answer. So a Flinders University researcher has believed why large number of whales came to Western Australia. Is this something that we are saying a researcher has believed this thing, that why it happened? It should be the researcher has proved this thing, why it happened. Researcher has found this thing, why it happened. What is the purpose of saying a researcher has believed why it happens? The person may or may not believe it. So believe doesn't make sense with the sentence. So we can say fathomed is the answer. So a Flinders University researcher has fathomed, maybe found, why large numbers of killer whales dash at a single main location of the Western Australian southern coastline every summer. So every summer they dash at this location. So every summer the whales gather at this location. Gather means they come together. So next one says, in the newspaper published in this research, this person describes the conditions that have produced this ecological natural wonder of orcas. Describes the conditions which have produced. So just referring to the word conditions. The conditions which have produced this natural wonder of orcas migrating to the continental slope near this place in the western Great Australian bright dash late Austral spring to early autumn. So with to we say from this to this, and yes, we do have from. So we'll say from this time period to this season to this season. So these are the answers. What is the meaning of fathomed? Let's see. So the meaning of fathomed is understand or comprehend. So it may be like Flinders University researcher has finally understood that why it happened. Just like finally understood or finally found, but not believed. Finally believe will mean that a lot of people were telling him to believe and he was not believing, and finally he believed. So that doesn't make sense with the research going on. Any questions in the second one? Anybody? All fine. All right, so we have the third question on the screen. 2 minutes for this. Please post your answers. Very well done. Good, very good attempt. Dash determine where things are in a space. We had two capitals, for determine or in order to determine. If for would have been the answer, it should be ing form, for determining, not for determine. But it should be in order to determine where things are in space. Bats use sonar. They produce sound waves that hit objects and are dashed back to the bat. So with are, it should be third form of verb, and what we have in third form is reflected back. And yes, reflected is a word that can be used for waves, sound waves, so that is right. Bats can estimate the position of the object based on the time that lapses, dash the moment the sound wave is produced and the moment it is returned. So for and, there are two things, means between two moments. And yes, we do have between this moment and that moment. This calculation depends on the speed of sound, which can dash in different environmental conditions. For can should come with first form of verb, and we are finding a word for speed of sound. So speed of sound can vary speed of sound can change, but change is a general word. Vary is more academic, so we should go with that. Which can vary. Vary means which can be different in different environmental conditions, such as air composition or temperature. Since the discovery of sonar in bats 80 years ago, researchers have been trying to figure out dash bats acquire the ability or are born with. So or means whether they have it already, whether they acquire it in their life or are born with this dash sense. So something which we are born with is called innate. That is already inside us. When we are born, that thing is called innate capacity, innate capability, innate talent, innate ability. It's used with all of these nouns and it means the ability you are born with. So very well done. Still any questions, anybody in this particular blank? No, Simmer has a big no. Okay. And the fourth question, and the last one, maybe, let me see. The fourth question, 2 minutes for this. Please post your answers. Very good. Anybody left to post the answer? Long since are the two words which are written together. Long since means a lot of time has passed after something happened. So we write that thing using long since this happened. And the answers for this question are: the formation of the caves is a dash of a fossilized reef that existed 250 to 280 million years ago. So this is a result of all of you are right in writing this. In an inland sea that has long dash disappeared. So long since disappeared means there has been a long time when this sea disappeared. So long since disappeared. Since limestone is made up of fragments of coral, the sentence is absolutely complete. So we should put ly here. So we'll say typically made up of fragments of coral. Today, you can still find several fossilized plants and animals in the caves, limestone, that dash to a time before dinosaurs walked the earth. So whenever we go back into the time, we always say date back to that time. Means we are talking about that time. So we say this thing saying that date back to a time before dinosaurs walked the earth. And then starting sometime between 4 and 6 million years ago, water from Earth's surface began dash through the cracks in the stone deposit. So something that goes with water, water began moving. We cannot say water began action. So water began moving through the cracks in the stone deposit. Like in the last blank, I said that we need a word related to water. This is a very good technique which you should learn for solving the blanks. When you start looking for your answer, you should first, sometimes if you're stuck, you should look at for which word do I need the answer for. Do I have to match my answer with began or surface or earth or water? That makes it easier for you to look at what matches with the word you are looking for. Otherwise, sometimes we take the answer matching with began. It turns out to be wrong because the sense of the sentence is that what began dash. So water began doing what? Water began moving. So that is also, this is something you can learn gradually, not in a day, but try to do that. It's a very good technique to shortlist the options given. So these are the answers for this question, which is the last question for today. These were all the questions that we had to do. Any doubts in this one before we talk about anything else? Good, 18 out of 20 is a good score. All right, so as I said, these were all the questions that we had to do today. I hope it was helpful. Sorry, second one. Long since. So Yusuf, long since, as I said, it's used when you want to say a lot of time has passed when something happened. So that we say long since in that case. So for example, you can say, it has been long since I met him. Means a lot of time has passed when you last met that person. That is the meaning of long since. So these two words are written together. You can make a note of it if you haven't used them any time before. Right? Okay, so now it's Thursday today, and we do have the classes from Monday to Thursday only. So we will not have the classes Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because sometimes you have missed some class in the week. So you have to cover that. Also, whatever you have learned in these classes, now it is the time for you to start applying those things by yourself. And because practice of questions is also important. So these 3 are the days that you have to try to apply. These 3 are the days you have to complete and watch if you have missed any session. So please do that. We don't have this class on Sunday. It's only Monday to Thursday. Thank you so much. Happy weekend to all of you as well. Come back on Monday with new energy. I really used to say earlier that you should first read the paragraph to skim it because that gives you an idea about what they are talking. But now after the pattern has changed, we really don't have time for this. So now it's better that if you can read one sentence, but one complete sentence till full stop. If you feel like it's really very less information, don't waste your time on reading that sentence again. Just read the very next sentence. So 2 sentences will definitely give you an idea, but not the whole passage. We really will not have time to read it once and then start all over again. Yeah, it takes half a minute. It's a lot of time, half a minute. So it's better to just go with one sentence, but till full stop. If it is something that you're not understanding, go to the second sentence straight away. Don't waste your time. So the video about connectors is on the Facebook page. The video about Reorder Paragraphs is also on the Facebook page. Go to Language Academy PTE Academic Group on Facebook. And when you will open the group, you will see the heading featured, right where the group, right where it opens, you will see the heading featured, and there are all the videos in that section. So we have reorders videos on the Facebook page. And also there are 2 grammar videos for blanks as well. If anybody has not watched it, it is compulsory. Weekly prediction of practice questions. Yeah, you can do practice questions, Yusuf. Okay, so those who are going, bye-bye, take care. Please stay safe, take care of yourselves, avoid going out, keep wearing the masks, and keep practicing. Thank you so much for coming to the class, and have a great weekend. Come back on Monday. We will have more discussions, more lessons. Bye-bye, take care.